time now for our dawn debate, and focus this morning is on bangled nomination and the double hassle for young politicians in the current political dispensation. In studio with us, media commentator and political analyst Evans Wafula. We're also joined by nominated Member of Parliament, Honorable Isaac Maura. Many thanks for joining us here in studio. So let's begin, gentlemen, with the just concluded party primaries. A lot has been said about it. Bangled, shambolic, are just some of the words that have been used to describe it. Honorable, let's begin with you, because you took part in these nominations. You were seemingly aggrieved in the nominations, so to speak. How was the process for you?
No, I was not aggrieved. I may have had a confrontation with one of the competitors, and I think which was very well calculated, looking at back with the benefit of hindsight. When it comes to the actual elections, I'm a very satisfied loser.
Right. So
yes.
it was
free and fair. And nobody. By the way, there are people who are running around town lying to Kenyans. The Jubilee nominations were largely credible, and this is not just for the sake of political speak. It's the truth. Like I'm speaking about Kiambu. The elections were largely free and fair. In fact, after the elections, I called on my agents, and they agreed. They were the ones who were telling me. You see, if you did not mobilize your people to vote 3 or 4 times, if that's what happened, you cannot blame anybody because it was free. Anybody would have done that, if at all. Where I say
so it was free for anybody to participate
well,
in electoral malpractices
it was free for everybody to participate, to vote in a register that was for 2013. That I would say. When it comes to the counting and the tallying, you wouldn't steal. Because how do you steal when you have a bunch of 20 agents there?
But there's been allegations that in the Jubilee primaries, voters voted in as many as 10 polling stations.
Those are allegations. They are allegations. And you know, when you have lost an election, you must find reason. But I can tell you for sure, from where I sit, Jubilee nominations are very credible. In fact, to the point that I actually wonder, because I have been in ODM, and obviously ODM doesn't have credible elections. We can see things all over the place. That's the truth. All
right.
Yes.
Hold that thought. We'll come back to that. Evans, he says Jubilee nominations were largely free and fair, but for the past 2-3 days, Jubilee House at the headquarters has been a hive of activity with aspirants and their supporters crying foul, saying it was not free and fair. Just this morning, we've been reading of the likes of Jaguar and Maina Kamanda in Starehe. Your thoughts?
I think they're not only shambolic, but they are very messy. And that's seeing the number of the so-called independents, especially in Jubilee, is an indication that a lot of people are dissatisfied by the way the elections were conducted. Honorable Maura, in his constituency, where I also happen to have voted for the young man, Cyrus, it was really chaotic. I mean, by the time the voting was ending, a lot of people were actually going home without having casted their vote. I think what is important is that political parties have really failed. I think there was always that element of preferred candidates, either in Jubilee and even in ODM areas. And I think there were people coming out. I remember the deputy president taking charge of the election process at Jubilee House. Why did he do that? Because the first day they attempted to kickstart this process, it failed. It didn't even take off. The DP came in. And when he came in, it's perceived that he was able to take charge of. But you see, people who have fallen out of this process are now coming back to blame the DP. Why did he take charge of the secretariat? He was actually took charge of the command. And everybody thinks that the commander-in-chief in that election process in Jubilee must have had a hand in the fall of some of these leaders. But the most important thing is just looking at the way, even the turnout itself is an indication that the election was not properly conducted.
All right. And of course, the question is whether in the political dispensation that we have, there is a level playing field, even for new entrants coming in, especially for the young politicians to compete freely and fairly. You've been in politics for quite a while, but you're also relatively young, Honorable Maura. Let's talk about the stakes for young politicians coming into the game.
I think before I come to that, Michelle, you'll agree to dispute what my good friend Evans is saying here. Maybe he voted more than once for Cyrus Omondi, but the truth of the matter is that Cyrus Omondi won as a Luo in Jubilee Party. That in itself is very credible. People must not blame the deputy president for their own loss. People must not find a fault, because William Ruto never voted. William Ruto never stuffed ballots for somebody. If you lost, like Kabogo in Kiambu, you just lost fair and square. 62,000 against over 300,000, you just lost. And people must accept their loss. Don't find blame because people rejected you. If you vote, if you are vying for women rep, you are defeated by so many, such a margin. Remember, like in Kiambu, the cousin of the president, Anne Gazesha, lost to one Mamushomba. And nobody has said that that was, you know. So the truth of the matter is, William Ruto came in, he was able to take charge of the party, he helped many young Kenyans to get an opportunity to be elected. And there are very many of them who would otherwise never have a chance. In fact, the system never had anybody.
So where you stand right now, 5 years from now, there's nothing Jubilee should improve on in their primaries?
Obviously, the first day the primaries failed. And I think there was a higher turnout than the one that was there for Tuesday for Kiambu County. And of course, there are lessons to be learned. But I can tell you for sure, if you were to compare the nominations of Jubilee versus the ones for ODM, where people are calling returning officers to declare themselves winners, did you see at any chance, Michelle, anywhere in the Jubilee strongholds where people had more than one certificate? It didn't happen. If you look at the people who vied in Jubilee, there's 9,900 individuals against 470 or 508, I think, by this morning, petitions. That is actually on the lower side. So Jubilee actually tried, and let's give credit where it's due. Let's not just bang everybody because we want to be the same.
Right.
But we have had people like Okoth Kobado with Migori, Anyang' Nyong'o with Ranguma, Cyprian Awiti with the other member of parliament, I forget. People like John Bandi who are rigged in completely. You cannot come to this station and claim that the Jubilee nominations versus the ones for ODM are the same. No, it's not true. That's not the truth. Most of these NASA parties never even conducted elections like ANC. Some of these individuals were just dishing out certificates. And we know how much sometimes people pay for.
What proof do you have of that?
No, of course it's true. People are confiding in us how much they were being asked to pay. So the truth of the matter is, for sure, I can say, even those people who are here to consider the system to be against them, they won, like Anne Waiguru. Anne Waiguru is on record saying that some people are fighting, but she still went ahead and to win. The other people who were seen to be, even people like Paul Chepkonyi, the governor for Kericho, people like Buzeki, let me tell you, Buzeki was said to be backed by the deputy president, but still Mandago went ahead to win. He is the one who is going to be independent. So let people not lie to Kenyans. If you have lost, accept, like the way Isaac Maora has, and let's move forward, because we can only have one winner.
All right. So even according to Maura here, the allegations of bangled nominations are because of those who lost and do not want to accept defeat. But the question also has been, who came out the bigger loser in terms of political parties in these elections? Was it ODM? Was it Jubilee? I
think both the political parties are really bear the brunt of this shambolic nomination. But important is Maura is is actually avoiding to answer the question of these independent candidates, why there are so many of them in Jubilee. And you see even Buzeki, I don't know, in his own personal statement, he's actually said that the elections were not properly conducted. And they're not going for independent just because the elections were properly conducted and they are fairly lost. It's because they feel that they were not treated fairly. And that's the only reason why they are going for independence. I mean, there's nobody who is saying that independent was a preferred party that was somewhere for people who lose go there. But they're going there because they were not satisfied. Yes, it's true you're saying that because you're satisfied. And we have had the president saying, those who have lost, concede defeat, we have some job for you to give you. So I don't know whether Maura is lining up himself for a position.
I think Wafula, you must be fair to yourself. The jobs is Kenyans who give them. I have been employed before when I was not in parliament, and I am ready and willing to serve the country in whatever capacity. It's very unfair to come here and say that people are going independent because that's a political party. You cannot move to another political party. The only option you have is running independent. And it's also not true to say that the only people who are going independent are from Jubilee. Rangumba is going independent.
All right, gentlemen.
Every other person who has lost from a political party is going independent.
Let's hold that and now introduce Babu Owino, who is the ODM nominee for the Embakasi Central Parliamentary seat. Many thanks for joining us. Parliamentary East. Many thanks for joining us on Morning Express. So we're talking about bangled nominations. You won the nominations in Embakasi East. How was the process for you?
I think ODM did a very free, fair, and credible nominations in Embakasi East. There was nothing like any unfairness. That's why you see opponents, people are not dissatisfied. In fact, everybody was celebrating in Embakasi East. So kudos to ODM party.
Really? Okay, let's talk about the
overall
overall nominations for the ODM party, because that is not the general view out there. A lot of words being used to describe it, a lot of people feeling aggrieved the process was not free and fair. So it was free and fair in Embakasi, but what about all the others were feeling aggrieved? Did the ODM party carry out these nominations in a way that aspirants felt safe?
In my opinion, I think in any political contest, there has to be a winner, and there are also losers. There are people who've lost. And I think among the losers, there are people who choose to express their grievances in different ways. Some people go on the streets, some people go the tribunal way, some people just cry in the washrooms. And I think by the end of the day, election is an election. It happened. Every other time, people must complain. Even in Pop's election, people complain. People think that there was a different Pope who was supposed to win.
The complaints were rather serious. There were allegations of rigging, Babu Owino, allegations of ballot stuffing, and this is across board, but more so for the ODM party.
I think these are normal things that people always say after losing elections. People will always say that there were chaos. People will always say that ballot papers were stuffed. So these are normal stories. Year in, year out, in every electioneering period. But also there are different areas, to be very objective, that some people won elections, but there were problems.
So you finally admit it. And let's focus on that, Evans. The two gentlemen seem to be very, optimistic, so to speak, that the elections are free and fair across board, both for ODM and for Jubilee. But let's tackle the issues now in both parties that were of concern, and issues that the aspirants themselves need to be voicing out to be changed in future.
I think one of the most important things that has come out of these primaries was the manner in selecting the returning officers, so to say, and also the tallying, the way the election was being tallied. I remember Jubilee was actually asking IEBC to assist them in conducting their primaries. I think they had already seen this challenge, the problem that they will face. I think one of the things that the young aspirants need to know, and I'm so happy that most of them are young who are coming in, is that I think the political transformation in terms of party politics was very defined by these primaries, where the party will go in future. And I think whether it's in the hands of the young aspirants and the young politicians who are emerging, that's one thing we're going to see in August 8th. But I think there's a huge transformation both in Jubilee and in NASA, where young people are really taking the center stage.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about that entrance of young people into the political scene. And Babu, you've been doing this for quite a while in student politics, of course, and we've seen you in action in that field. But what is the playground like for young people entering politics today?
I think politics is not about being young or being old. It's about providing services and leadership to the constituents. And as we said that when you look across board, I think so many young people have been nominated in this process because people believe that these people have new ideas, they are energetic, and they can deliver services to the constituents. So all in all, me being in the student politics, I think is one of the reasons why Embakasi's residents chose me, because of what I was doing. When I was swallowing or inhaling tear gas on the streets, I was doing it on behalf of the parents and the students so that the fee is not increased to them. So I think they had hope and they believed in me fully that when Babu is given this opportunity, he will deliver us. He will act as a bridge between our dirty past and our golden tomorrow in the foreseeable future.
All right, hold that. We'll need to fix your sound. Honorable Maura, you seem to be very amused by what Babu Owino is saying. Your thoughts on this?
I think the next parliament is going to be very exciting because there are very many interesting characters, like one Babu Owino here, who is my friend. And also within Jubilee also we have very young people, like my very good friend Dede Nyoro, who is MP for Kiharu, elect, and others, and also even in the Senate, people like Irungu Kangata. It's very challenging to run for office as a young person. In Ruiru constituency, I was the youngest. I was the only under 35 who was running for office. It was a very expensive affair, I must say. I was running against very experienced, well-loaded individuals, much as I am a nominated MP. But what I like about it is the fact that young people came out, to contest. Like in the Jubilee nominations, the young people didn't vote because we were using the 2013 register. So we have on one hand, and for me, I was running with the banner Kijana Mtetezi. So many of my voters were really not able to vote, And I think one of the things that we would recommend is that before we go for the party primaries, we should have already done voter registration, and the register should be updated.
Right. So
that you don't differentiate people. And why am I saying that? Because if you look at Ruiru, the people who voted in 2013 knew the two other candidates who had been on the ground for like 10 years. You see? I am the new entrant. So, and that confirms the pattern of voting. So we need to have a situation where we actually increase opportunities for young people to be elected. And I think also as a country, we have to have a candid conversation around election campaign financing. If people are to be honest, I think running for office is extremely expensive. And you see, you have to do it. Like for us, we had to do 2 elections. We had prepared on Friday, and then that did not go through. So we lost money, a lot of money there. And then we did it on Tuesday. And imagine there are people still who are going for the August elections. The good thing is the fact that if you come from certain strongholds of political parties like Jubilee or ODM, then after the nominations, then there's nothing much to do. But it's very expensive for young people, and that must be said very loudly and clearly. Yeah.
All right, Evans, let's talk about the means then we can use to increase the chances of young people being elected into politics.
I think one of the things is that our politics is so much money-oriented or finance-oriented. I think we need to demystify that people should not, you don't need to be so rich to get into politics. And the issue of seeing young people, even politicians, dishing money to voters, that's one of the things that actually impedes young people from getting into politics.
Because just hold it there, because Babu, you've been a culprit of this, and you've made headlines several times with allegations of voter bribery. And you're a young aspirant yourself. Your thoughts on that, especially how we can curb that particular trend?
I think you're using a wrong word on me, because if you say that I'm a culprit, then it means that I'm guilty as charged. I think I've explained severally on what happened about the clip that was going around about the issue of money. And I said that if Jesus Christ fed people, who is Babu Wino not to feed people? Because I'm a kind man, and if I have something, I will always give, irrespective of what people think about it. And generally, politics, I tend to think that it's not about money. The other day, Kabogo had billions. Waitito had nothing, he lost. The last election, even this other one, it was perceived that Buzeki was being funded, and he also had a lot. He had serious political backup, and he had a lot of money as compared to the incumbent. We've also seen political bigwigs with a lot of money who've lost before. And so politics is about people believing in you, people believing that this person can deliver us from the land full of stress and any other thing to the promised land.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I think let me comment about that, Michelle. Honestly, let's not lie to Kenyans. The people who demand money are the Kenyans. You go somewhere, you're told that as a macho. I think very soon you'll also be told that as a masikio, because they need to listen to you. And we must not come to the national television and say that this is not the reality, because we'll be just window dressing. We had a conversation about voter bribery the other day, and Kenyans want to be bribed, even to be mobilized to go and vote. That's the truth.
The question is, where did this culture begin? Who began this culture?
Well, we don't want to blame, but I think the corruption culture is one of the legacies of the Moi regime that we inherited from his regime. And it, of course, has come, and it has become so entrenched that we rank very highly as some of the most corrupt people in the world. And that's the truth. And so going forward, it actually, and that's why I'm saying we need to have a serious conversation about election campaign financing, because the burden of bankrolling your campaigns obviously has an impact on service delivery. It has an impact on the corruption index, because where is this money coming from? And so going forward, we do, Michelle, also need to rethink, because the role of a member of parliament or an elected leader is very different from what is codified in law. We have taken the Western type of a member of parliament or president or governor, but when people elect you, they elect you to be a problem solver. They want you to dispense welfare. They want you to attend most of the funerals. They want you to help in their medical bills. That's the truth. You may cast leaders, but that is what they are elected for. And if you are doing those things when you're looking for votes, you must continue to do them when you are elected. And if you do so, it is not sustainable. That is the reason why there's a very high turnover of members of parliament, because they cannot sustain the demand. And then new people come on board. However, I must also give very great credit to the voter. Just like Abraham Lincoln said, the final decision, the voter has got a lot of immense power. Even when you bribe them with billions of shillings and you bamboozle them with your vehicles and things like those and, razzmatazz, by the end of the day, they will vote for who they want. And that I really respect.
All right.
Just a quick one. We've seen Babamboga and the People's Watchman emerging from very humble and without nothing, and they've been elected, they've been nominated for MCA positions. I think if you look at even the lineup of the young people who are seeking parliamentary nominations, who are seeking the nominations, honestly, there are people also being associated with big dollar. And that's where the problem also lies, is that when you hear a name, it's somebody's name plus what is associated with what. And I think that has actually, it's like politics has been put a price tag.
Right. I mean, even speaking to that, because like Honorable Maura mentions, it is the Kenyans who want to be bribed. It is the Kenyans who will be lining up outside the MP's house to have them pay their school fees and whatnot. But what does that say about the state of our civic education? Because Kenyans then don't understand what the job of that member of parliament is and where they can go and which institutions will enable them to get these fees, because we also have those provisions in the Constitution. So let's begin with you, Evans, in terms of civic education.
I think we saw the president, I think, some time ago, closing and actually expelling an organization that was assisting in civic education. Wakenya wenyewe wanajua kuendesha maneno yao. I think that was wrong, because the same organization was also assisting IEBC and was also assisting especially in civic education. So there's a gap in civic education, and we are seeing the crackdown and the stiff laws that are being put on civil societies. And I think civic education also starts from churches. And you cannot expect someone giving $1 million shillings to churches every day, those churches even not to conduct good civic education. I think the problem here is that civic education must actually be left to civic organizations that are able to do, and even churches. That should be the role of the church in politics, where the churches should also be used to educate people in how to participate in election. But the whole process of civic education has already been hijacked by politicians.
All right. Honorable Maura.
I think the problem is not even civic education. The problem is how we have copy-pasted roles of political leaders from the Western democracies as to speak to Western audience rather than the African. You see, when you interlocute these conversations with Western educated middle-class people who do not have the real touch of on the ground, they end up creating constitutions and provisions that do not speak to the masses. And Babu will agree with me here now as a member of parliament elect. People know what they want. People know who they want to vote for and for what reason. So even if you educated people on the wrong roles of a member of parliament that don't speak to them, then you just create a duality. It is what is in law, but in practice, it's different. So the difference between what is and what ought to be. So what we need to do, and I think people must be bold enough to do so, can we redefine roles of a member of parliament? Let us not just want to be having global standards that do not speak to us. Let us accept that the member of parliament is a leader of development. The member of parliament is involved in social welfare issues. Let us build the capacity of members of parliament to conduct such roles over and above making laws, doing oversight and representation. But if we just want to bury our heads in the sand, then we just end up having a mismatch. There's a variance between the formal organs of government and the state versus what are the real aspirations of our people. And we are not going to change people just because we are teaching them. Because if you teach people things that they do not speak to their own realities, they can never imbibe them. Let us have a bottom-up approach.
All right, Babu, I want to get your thoughts on the issue of campaign financing, because it's been especially difficult for new entrants into politics, not just young people, but just new entrants. how is it for you, and how is it for young people and new people coming in? Campaign financing has been billed as one of the barriers for those who want to join politics.
I think politics money is just a facilitating factor, and it's not a major thing in politics. Just as we saw, Baba Mboga was elected, Babu Owino was nominated, Baba Mboga was also nominated, and there are also various people who've been nominated who didn't have money. So money is just there to facilitate, but it's quite hard because when you go to people, we are living in a third world country where there's so many challenges, especially challenges for unemployment, because I believe if somebody has money, he will not ask you for money. And if that person has money that can be used to solve the immediate challenges, then all these problems of voter bribery and people saying that nifungulie macho will not be there. But generally, we've been experiencing serious problems because wherever you go, people want to listen to what you speak. Then after that, if you tend to leave, they'll be saying that, no, this is not how we should be, because they're expecting something from you.
But where does the buck stop? Isn't it upon you as the leader to say, no, I will not be giving this money because of ABC?
But you,
not be elected.
but you see,
So what's more important is to be
the only
elected.
way to be elected is for you to cough something out of your pocket.
No, maybe without cutting Babu short, let's say the truth. Unajua tusikuje hapa tudanganyane. If you go and give the most wonderful speech, I believe I am one of the best speakers. There's, wewe Mauro umetuacha namna gani? Fungua macho. Mkono mtupu ulambwe. You are so mean. In fact, when I started my campaign, I was insisting on not giving out anything. But with the time niliambiwa wewe Maura wewe ni mtu gumu sana. Wakina mama ndio hao wamepanga laini wanataka kitu na hao wengine wanataka kitu. You know, it's not fair for anybody. But I can tell you for sure that is the level of politics. But you may hit on me and say things like this, but I'm just being honest.
But if Baba Mboga and the watchman and the bicycle rider could be elected and
yes,
they did not give
Michelle,
any money,
even when they get
why
the money,
should you?
Even when they get the money, they actually have the right to decide. You know, the Kenyan voter will tell you, even if you give me anything, finally I'm the one who makes that decision. But it doesn't mean they will not demand.
Right,
I think people, because of the immediate challenges that we always have, people respond to that. And to a person is about solving the next immediate challenge as to what you are promising that you'll bring on board. But as we speak again, people know the people that they have at heart. They will come when money is given. You've seen, even if when it's not in a political session, when a lorry of maziwa rolls somewhere, people are running there to take maziwa, even petroleum. And we've seen all this. So I think it is because of the problems that people experience on a day-to-day basis. And I said that an average Kenyan is so poor that he or she may want to hang himself, but he cannot afford a rope to hang himself.
All right, Babu, and maybe I see time is fast moving. You've been nominated for Embakasi East as the ODM flag bearer, if that's the word we can use for that particular post. What is it that you're offering the people of Embakasi? You've said that people are poor. The reason why they're even going kuchota your mafuta when, you know, a truck rolls. What is it that you have as a solution, especially as a young politician?
Yes, Gitonga, I think I have a number of things. I think the challenges that people experience generally are employment challenges. For example, in Embakasi East, the rate of unemployment is so high. And as I said, there are so many industries, there are so many companies in Embakasi East that can employ women, that can employ the young people. Babu Owino will act as a bridge, will hold the hands of the constituents to go and show them the way. There's the issue of the youth fund. There's the issue of the women fund. There's Uwezo fund that ends up in people's pockets. Because our leaders, they don't want to utilize this opportunity to connect their constituents to these funds. I want to open vocational training institutions where people will be trained on different skills like furniture making, welding, tailoring, so that they can be self-employed. I want to start a circle in Embakasi East for a mama. This circle, people will come, people will fundraise, and then in every ward there will be an office for the circle. Women will be given loans to start up businesses, then given a duration to refund the money. There are also talent nurturing that will be done there. in a nutshell.
So where do you draw the line between promises made and actual delivery of these promises? And before we hear from you, let's hear from Honorable Maura, because you've been in office before. Promises are made usually that are never delivered to Kenyans. Where do we draw the line and bridge that gap between holding him accountable to actually open that vocational training center in Embakasi East?
Michelle, you know, I want to say two statements. Number one is that leadership almost invariably has capacity to transform society. And number two, that it's not just leading from the front, but leading with the agenda of the people. From my 4 years in Parliament as a nominated member, without even a kitty, I have been able to do so much with so little that I believe any leader who loves his people or her people and has a great vision can make a mark. And those things that Babu is saying are actually doable because they are within the ambit of a member of parliament. Uwezo Fund is another member of parliament. Vocational training is in the national education that you can lobby the national government to give you TVET institutions, which has been done before. And you can actually ensure that in terms of the connection around who gets money for Uwezo Fund, which groups, are they the politically active groups? Are they people who are really having projects that are transformational? It's possible. Now, the challenge, Michelle, is you need to know your level of engagement because there are systemic problems that can be solved at the state level. Then they need to be dealt at the presidential level. There are those that are collegiate that need to be dealt by law through parliament. There are those that need to be dealt administratively by the executive. So it's carving your own niche. It's not a question of saying that now because I'm a member of parliament for Ruiru, or Embakasi, I'm going to solve all the problems of the people. Is knowing which are your priorities. And it is possible. Let me show you how. Almost every constituency in this country gets about, on average, it will be slightly less or a bit more, 100 million every year for CDF. For 5 years, you're talking about 500 million shillings. You have about 6 or so million for Uwezo Fund. If these monies were put into proper use, if people do not sit down and decide how they are going to eat the money, if they channel them in the right way, you will look at 5 years and say, even if people don't elect me, I'll have a transformational agenda. And we must also say that when you engage the community, much as we are looking for votes, people must have a higher calling, over and above just getting the vote. The tactics of scoring the goal, but rather also playing the game well, you know? So that then you have left people at a better place than where you are. It is possible.
All right, all right, Evans, let's get your final comments on this. Between promise making and delivery of the promises made, is this something that we're likely to see being done better in this year's general election?
I think both Babu and Maura have emerged from student politics. Both of them have been student leaders, emerging from student politics of radicalization to national politics where there's expectation from wananchi. But one thing they're not addressing is the issue of corruption. The institutionalization of corruption in the Kenyan society has actually shaken our social fabric. That's why even campaigning, you have to pay. And even these promises they're talking about, they cannot implement them as easy as it sounds, because the whole society is sort of, the social fabric is so shaken with corruption. And they need to empower the people first, create employment before creating institutions. Ensure that you have people who have jobs and can put money in their pockets. You will create institutions which will be run down. There will be white elephants. So I think as leaders who are emerging and as young, I think they really need to ensure that you create employment. The level of unemployment in this country is so shocking.
All right, and that's a promise Babu is making. All right, and finally, very shortly, very briefly, Babu, the issue of the voter register. Of course, you'll be heading into the polls in August. What should be done with that?
The voter register, I think there should be serious audit about it because we understand that there are dead people registered and who are coming to vote. So in my opinion, these dead people, when they come from the grave, they vote, then they go back to the grave. It will be a shame to Kenyans.
And of course, we also had the issue of the IBC register not being updated, and it's only the 2013 register being used. Honorable Maura, are we likely to head to the general election with this same register?
No, I think there's now voter register verification, and I'm very happy because the IBC has accepted that persons with disabilities, they should have their status there, I think in a week's time, so that then that can be used for people who need assisted voting. And I think many young people will, of course, be able to count and to matter by voting their leaders they want in the 2017 general election, like the primaries across board where they were not able to do so. And I also want to say that really we are improving. The nominations are not as shambolic as they were in 2013, by the way, across board. The bar has been raised. Where you see also people like Oburu Oginga being denied the certificate, I think for me that also should be commended. So that then we must accept that we are making progress. It's not as easy. I agree with Evans that corruption really seems to, eat from our collective future. And of course, the issues of tribalism we must accept, which robs us of a collective sense of purpose. But we must keep on moving. Despite the challenges, we must not imagine that we belong to another different society. We must confront our challenges together for a better Kenya.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much. That is nominated Member of Parliament Isaac Maura. Also joining us in studio, Babu Owino, who's the ODM MP-elect for the Embakasi East constituency. And last but not least, Evans Wafula, who is a media commentator and a political analyst, joining us on our Dawn debate right here on Morning Express. We take a short break now, but do stay with us. It's Wednesday, so we'll be back with a newsroom conversation in a few minutes.